Hey, third graders, welcome back. We're going to continue today reading Storm in the Night by Mary Stoles. And the other day, we talked about different types of figurative language, right? Similes and personification. There were some really great examples in this story. So when we left off, right, we were reading about how the automobile tires swished and the horns honked and the siren whined in the distance. And remember, Thomas and grandfather and Ringo the cat, they don't have any power, right? So they're in the dark. So we're going to continue this story today, and I want you to be paying attention to the illustrations in this story. We're going to really pay attention and think about how readers can identify like details in the story and information about the characters and the setting, the events in the story, all from the illustrations, right? We know what the words are saying, but the illustrations help us to understand and have more detail so that we can find more meaning in the story. So we're going to read, and then I'm going to kind of point out, right, how that can kind of help us. All right, so we're going to start on this page. Here we go. Remember, they're in the dark. They don't have any power. Okay, so you can kind of see that right there. The door is open. Grandfather, said Thomas, were there automobiles when you were a boy? Were there automobiles? Grandfather shouted. How old do you think I am? Well, said Thomas, next thing you'll be asking if there was electricity when I was your age. Oh, grandfather, said Thomas, laughing. After a while, he said, was there? Let's go out on the porch, said grandfather. There's too much silliness in here. By the light of the lightning, they made their way to the front door and out on the porch. Ringo, who always followed Thomas, followed him and jumped to the railing. So you can see, heading outside. I know there's a little bit of a glare there from my light, but it's awfully dark today when I'm recording this. So there they are. The rain, driving hard against the back of the house, was scarcely sprinkling here, but it whooped windily through the great beech tree on the lawn, brandishing branches, tearing off twigs. Can you see the lightning in the sky there? Here. It drenched the bushes, splashed in the bird bath, clattered on the tin roof like a million tacks. Ooh, that's a really good simile. Clattered on the roof like a million tacks. Grandfather and Thomas sat on the swing, creaking back and forth, as thunder boomed and lightning stabbed across the sky. Ringo's fur rose, and he turned his head from side to side, his eyes wide and wild in the flashes that lit up the night. The air smelled peppery and gardeny and new. That's funny, said Thomas. I can smell better in the dark, too. Remember earlier in the story, he said he could hear things better, right? We talked about why as one of your questions yesterday. I need to pay attention to this picture here. Listen to the words. Thomas thought grandfather answered, but he couldn't hear, as just then a bolt of lightning cracked into the big beech tree. It ripped off a mighty bough, which crashed to the ground. This was too much for Ringo. He leaped onto Thomas's lap and shivered there. Poor boy, said Thomas. He's frightened. I had a dog when I was a boy, said grandfather. He was so scared of storms that I had to hide under the bed with him when one came. He was afraid even to be frightened alone. I'm not afraid of anything, Thomas said, holding his cat close. Not many people can say that, said grandfather. Then he added, well, I suppose anybody could say it. I'm not afraid of thunderstorms, like Ringo and your dog. What was his name? Melvin. That's not a good name for a dog, Thomas said. I thought it was, grandfather said calmly. He was my dog. So look at their expressions, right? You can see the cat. You can see the rain coming down. That helps us understand the words, and we're going to come back to this page in a minute. I like cats, said Thomas. I want to own a tiger. Not while you're living with me, said Grandfather. Okay, Thomas said. Is there a story about Melvin? There is. One very good one. Tell it, Thomas commanded. Please, I mean. Well, said Grandfather, when Melvin and I were pups together, I was just as afraid of storms as he was. No, said Thomas. Yes, said Grandfather. We can't all be brave as tigers. I guess not, Thomas agreed. So there we were, the two of us, hiding under beds whenever a storm came. Think of that, said Thomas. That's what I'm doing, said Grandfather. Anyway, the day came when Melvin was out on some errand of his own, and I was doing my homework when all at once, with only a rumble of warning, down came the rain, down came the lightning, and all around and everywhere came the thunder. Hey, I want you to look. Here's Thomas and Grandfather, right, as Grandfather's sharing the story. But look at this picture. Who do you suppose that is? That's Grandfather, right? He's retelling the story of when he was a boy. Wow, said Thomas. What did you do? Dove under the bed. But what about Melvin? I'm coming to that, said Grandfather. What about Melvin is what the story is about. I see, said Thomas. This is pretty exciting. Well, it was then. Are you going to listen or keep interrupting? I think I'll listen, said Thomas. So again, Grandfather's telling him the story, and this is what Grandfather's remembering. Good. Where was I? Under the bed. So I was. Well, I lay there, shivering at every clap of thunder, and I'm ashamed to say that it was some time before I even remembered that my poor little dog was all by himself out in the storm. Thomas shook his head in the dark. Okay, there they are, still on the bench. And when I did remember, Grandfather went on, I had the most awful time making myself wriggle out from under the bed and go looking for my father or my mother to ask them to go out and find Melvin for me. So you can see him, Grandfather as a little boy, looking out the window at the storm. Grandfather, I told you I was afraid. This is a true story you're hearing, so I have to tell the truth. Of course, said Thomas, admiring his grandfather for telling a truth like that. Did you find them? I did not. They had gone out someplace for an hour or so, but I'd forgotten. Thomas, fear does strange things to people, makes them forget everything but how afraid they are. You wouldn't know about that, of course. Thomas stroked his cat and said nothing. In any case, Grandfather went on, there I was alone and afraid in the kitchen, and there was my poor little dog alone and afraid in the storm. What did you do? Thomas demanded. You didn't leave him out there, did you, Grandfather? Thomas, I put on my raincoat and opened the kitchen door, then stepped out onto the back porch just as a flash of lightning shook the whole sky and a clap of thunder barreled down and a huge man appeared out of the darkness, holding Melvin in his arms. Phew! That man was 7 feet tall and had a face like a crack in the ice. Ooh, there's another good simile. His face looked like a crack in the ice. Grandfather, you said you were telling me a true story. It's true because that's how he looked to me. He stood there scowling at me and said, Son, is this your dog? And I nodded because I was too scared to speak. If you don't take better care of him, you shouldn't have him at all, said the terrible man. He pushed Melvin at me and stormed off into the dark. Gee, said Thomas, that wasn't very fair. He didn't know you were frightened, too. I mean, Grandfather, how old were you? Just about your age. Well, some people my age can get pretty frightened. Not you, of course. Thomas said nothing. Okay, so here's a picture of grandfather with that stranger who is bringing his dog back. Right? So illustrations in the story help us to understand. Just the mere fact that they've got this little picture on all these pages helps us to see there's the conversation, and this is the story that grandfather's telling, right? Back when he was a boy, Thomas's age, when he was afraid of a storm, right? Not Thomas. Thomas is brave as a tiger, right? Here's that little picture again. Right? Remember when I said we were going to revisit this page right here? This helps us to see, right, what's really happening and to see the details and the emotions, what characters are feeling. If you look at Thomas's face, I don't think he's so sure about what's happening in this storm, right? And it talks about that lightning that ripped off the bough of the tree, right, the branch of the tree, and it was too much for Ringo. Ringo's the cat, and you can see from this illustration that Ringo's scared, right? That lightning bolt makes that crack, and you can see Ringo jumping onto that swing on the porch, and it says he leaped onto Thomas's lap and shivered there. So by him, right, you can see his body's stretched out and he's leaping. You know what a scared animal or cat or dog would do, right? When they're afraid of something like that. He's just making a beeline, right for Thomas's lap. Grandfather's face looks a little startled too, right? So words of a story can be enhanced. We can see the detail that the author wants to share by the illustrations in the story. They're so important to us, right? So thinking about how the illustrations contribute to the story is so important, right? So we can see things, and especially when they're showing us grandfather and Thomas telling the story, but revisiting grandfather as a child. Did you notice here too? This is when he talked about how he wanted to have a tiger. Look at how Ringo's looking and seeing himself in the window. He kind of looks like a tiger there, doesn't he? And there's his mandarin eyes. If you know what a mandarin orange is, right? His eyes are orange. They talked about that in the part we read the other day. Okay, so pictures tell the story too. The words are very important because the words are the story, right? But these illustrations contribute to the story, and they make more of an impact. The words make more of an impact when we have these pictures to go along with them.